This is Bilbo, your DM from World of Hearthron, and I am talking tonight about what do you do as a DM when a player leaves your game. Uh, on the one map here that we'll be playing tomorrow with the Grey Guardians, we had one of the players. Who plays Dom, who's currently down on the ground, leave our group. And so let me kind of give you a couple scenarios and how I've dealt with each one. So first off, players are going to come and go as a DM. The longer you DM, you're gonna experience that no matter what. I mean, I do have a player that has played with me for over 20 years, and a couple of my other players I would say are very close to that, if also not over 20 years. So I have some of my players are very long time loyal players that have been in my group forever. However, we've seen plenty of players come and go over the years as well. People get married, they lose interest in the hobby, they have kids, they have other hobbies that take up their time, work gets in the way. All those things can come into play for you as a dungeon master. And this video is maybe to help you through a couple situations. What do you do, especially if the character is pivotal to the game, or you change or add something to the storyline of your game. So I'll go through a couple situations. So one of our players in the past, and if you look at our old videos, when we started putting these out on YouTube, just trying to figure out what we were doing, and switched to 5th edition, one of our players left, I believe, I want to say in November, who played Cass. And he may return at some point, but he has been gaming with us online via Skype, or boy, used to we would take pictures of the board and send those to players via text and have people on as speakerphone. And so, and he's been doing that for about 10 years. Before that, he lived here. He was one of the players at my table. In fact, any of my players that play via Skype or via Discord, they've been at this table, and for most of them, multiple years at this table. And so we don't want to lose those guys. They're great friends of ours here at the table as well as away. And anyways, he decided to take a break. He's married, he has a busy job, and has a couple kids, and he wants to spend more time with them. And so he decided he needed to take a break. Absolutely understandable. I have 5 kids myself, 2 grandsons. That's a very important part of your life. So with him, I was able, and like I said, he's been with the story with the Grey Guardians before they were the Grey Guardians even, and has been with the story since almost the beginning of this campaign. And it was kind of easy to kind of work him out of the game. The Maze of the Minotaurs is when he decided that he would stop playing, actually during that adventure. And so I was able to sidetrack him down a different hall. The other guys are running as Avalanche, and was able to get his character out and just didn't rejoin the group. Still alive, didn't kill off the character or anything like that. It's always in the sense of him coming back. So, no worries, it didn't affect the gameplay, didn't affect the story really. And so the next one is Dom, the player that plays Dom. He's a rather new player to our group. He came on during the summer, right when we were switching to 5th edition. And he showed a lot of excitement for the game, for the world and was asking a lot of questions. And this is the tricky part for inexperienced DMs as well as veterans like myself. So if you have a new player join in and they're all excited, it's like, I want to play this character. You let them play. You don't really change anything storyline in your game, and you just work them in. Usually pretty easy. This group had been adventuring for, like I said, years, and to figure out a way to bring him in. If he didn't ask as a player, and he even fooled a couple of my veteran players that have been playing with me for decades, and he really was into it. He was asking questions about my world, about the religions, about where he could be from. He came up with this great character idea of having to leave his family and go into hiding, but also try to set up a business for his family on a faraway continent. Kind of like The Godfather, and in the sense of Dom really being in the role of Michael. So great character concept, great background, made all that. And so I'm like, oh, this will be perfect. And so as a DM, I was like, well, how do I work this into the story? And because I already kind of knew where the group was going. But I also kind of wanted to see if we could push a couple pieces, and the players did. So what I created was Gestal, his right hand man, his brother, not by blood, but by acceptance into his family. And anyways, my whole plot was, and this was, right when he came in, after he played a couple sessions, and like I said, he was just on it, asking a ton of questions. And so I'm like, okay, this guy's good, he's here to stay. So we got him. So I'm like, I'm gonna set up where Gestal is gonna betray him at some point, and which is where the group is now. I knew he would betray him here and take a stab at Dom. And the whole thought was that Dom would be victorious and kill Gestal, and it would be a great story piece. And so I wrote all that up, had all this done, all the work was in place, and lo and behold, Dom gets busy with work. He's very busy with work, got a new girlfriend, so spent a lot of time with her. And so he's like, well, I'll be back next week. So I'm, explaining to the players, hey, he's coming back. He's really excited about the game still. He wants to play. He's just been really busy, and he was with work. I work with him. So I do know he is very, very, very busy at work. And then he met the girl. And then all of a sudden, well, I can't play because we're going out this weekend. And I'm like, okay, well, next weekend. Next thing you know, the holidays come. Well, I'm going to be with her on the holidays. So I'm like, okay, no problem. After the holidays, you come back. Holidays come and go. He's still not returning the game. So I had to have a sit down with him at work. And he's even actually kind of avoiding me a little bit at work. And I finally had to sit down, and I'm like, hey, are you going to come back or not? Or are you just too busy with work and your relationship with this girl that he's very serious with? And he's like, yeah. So I'm like, all right, no problem. And you can return to the game if you want this summer. Maybe if things settle down for you, you want to come back this summer, we'll see. But we'll play that by ear with him. I'll gauge that later on. Needless to say, I said, well, with Dom, and I told him this a couple of weeks ago before we got into this. I said, my whole plan, I said, I'm going to kill Dom. And I said my whole plan originally was that Gestal would turn on you and join the Marsava clan, which is that what the Grey Guardians are fighting here on the board. And Gestal would turn on you and attack, and hopefully you become victorious against him. I thought by now too, Dom would be up a level, and he probably would be if he was playing. And you'd still have the support of his the other characters in the group to help take down Gestal. Needless to say, Dom doesn't come back. I do tell him that I'm going to do this because I had this in the story, for months, that this was going to happen. And even my players, the week before they went into this, were thinking, well, why don't we sit out Gestal and Dom? And I'm like, no, I'm going to keep them into the game. And they didn't know why, but I knew why. And I said, I'll just play it. I'll just play Dom this next session, and we'll be fine. And so he was fine with, me killing this character. And now if he wasn't, I would have just removed them out of there. But it wouldn't have been a big story grip story grip. If the group went in here and fought the Marsava clan without Dom and Gestal, it probably wouldn't have been that big of a deal. I mean, this was Dom's thing. I put these guys in to my game, and had them basically slaughter the orcs that were in here, into the storyline. Because originally I was going to have orcs in here. And instead I took out the orcs, put in the Marsava clan in their place, and, that's kind of how it went down. So I always be ready as a DM to figure out how to get a character out of the game if your player leaves. If he just leaves abruptly and doesn't say anything, feel free. If you're going to kill him next session, kill him, but kind of make it plausible. Like this was plotted out, like I said, months ago when the player came on, and I didn't plan to kill him here. I just planned to backstab him. And instead, now I'm like, well, I'm going to kill off the character. The group's going to end up killing Gestal as well. And then the group will move on from there. And there'll be 2 less party members in this rather large group anyways. So that's kind of, I just wanted to run a couple scenarios by people and, thoughts. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot me at World of Hearthron on Twitter, or even a note here on YouTube. If you want me to do a certain video, I will, on any sort of topic for Dungeons and Dragons, or what I've experienced over 40 years of playing and DMing. But that's it. Just be ready. If a player leaves the game, don't get upset that the player left. I mean, it hurts when you do have a player leave the group, especially if it's somebody that's been in your group for years and they have to leave. That probably hurts more than somebody that just joins, and plays a couple of months and then it's gone. It sucks because you want to share your world. The players want to share this bonding experience with other players, and so when you see a player leave, it does have effect on the players as well as the dungeon master, game master if it's another game. The biggest thing is kind of just roll with the punches, try to figure out, how do I get the character out of the story? Even in the sense for me, I kind of have a rule with my players. If you don't make a session, I'm going to try to figure a way to sit out your character unless they make a plea, and they make the plea, not the other players, about keeping their character in the game and having another player control their character for that next session. Now, if it goes on beyond one session, I'm going to sit that character out. But if it's, one session like here, Tomorrow, Mardor is going to miss the session. It's his dad's birthday, so understandable. Flamezor is going to miss tomorrow's session. All of a sudden, he decided to go hang out with some of his other friends, not the Dungeons and Dragons friends, but his friends his own age, and decided to go celebrate birthdays. There's, I guess, three of these, 10, 11-year-olds that are all celebrating their birthday together with school. And so he's not going to make the session. And so both of them have pleaded that, other players take control of their character for the one session, and I'm fine with that. However, if that wasn't the case, I figure out as a DM as how do I remove that character from the situation. Last session, Asnod didn't make it unexpectedly, so I walked him back on out through the portal. The session before that, Mardor did the same thing. Mardor was here last session, came back through. I like what Chris Perkins did with his group, the Waffle Crew, just this last week, where one of the players didn't make the session, and so he made a snowstorm, and the character got lost from the rest of the group in a snowstorm. So it's pretty cool. The character will find, that player character will be back, I'm sure, next week, and find what happened to that group. And so, yeah, any kind of cool idea that you can think of is perfect. If it's not cool, just do what you have to do. If they have to back on out, back them on out. I have players, myself included. I don't like not being there for a session as my character. I would hate if my character died and I'm not there. And so usually if I'm not playing, if I can't make the session, I'll tell the dungeon master, hey, sit me out this next session, if at all possible, just sit me out. And I try to make sure we're not in the middle of combat too, if I'm going to miss a session. And because that's just me. I don't want to second guess another player if my character dies. Well, did you do everything you could do? Why did I put myself in such a risk? Any of those kind of things I worry about as a player. And so I respect that of, any of my players as well. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and sign out tonight. This is DM Tips with Bilbo. If you watch this tonight or tomorrow, please come and check out our game, The Grey Guardians, and we will be broadcasting live on Twitch at 3 p.m. Central Time. So come on and watch us. And remember, it's cool to be a geek. Pass it on. Have a great evening. Good night.